My daughter walked in and caught me eating plain toast in the dark. "Mom, where's all your food? You get a $5,700 check every month." A minute later, my daughter-in-law said, "Because I decide what she spends." My daughter took off her earrings and did something that wiped the smug look off her face. It was a Thursday night. I sat at the kitchen table with one weak lamp on, chewing dry toast and sipping hot tap water from a chipped mug. Keeping the house dim helped me ignore the tight knot in my stomach. The front door opened without a knock. "Ma?" Jasmine called. "In here," I answered, sliding my plate away. She stepped into the kitchen, shaking rain from her braids. Her eyes skimmed over my layered sweaters, the shadows, the plate with 2 lonely slices of bread. "Why is it this dark?" she asked, flicking on the overhead light. The room snapped into brightness. Chipped cabinets, a stack of envelopes under the microwave, my sad plate of toast. "Is that your dinner?" she asked. "I'm not very hungry these days," I said. "Doctor wants me eating light." She didn't argue. She walked straight to the refrigerator and opened it. Cold air spilled out. Inside were 2 eggs, half a jar of pickles, some coffee creamer, and 3 ketchup packets. Nothing that looked like a meal. "Mom," Jasmine said quietly, "where are your groceries?" "I went last week," I muttered. "Things are expensive. I make it stretch. I'm fine." She closed the fridge slowly. "You get Social Security, your pension, and rent from upstairs," she said. "That's about $5,700 every month. You should not be living like this." My face burned. "Your brother and Amber handle all that now," I said. "They said it's easier if my checks go into their account and they pay everything online. I get mixed up with passwords." Heels clicked down the hall. "Oh, Jasmine," Amber said, appearing in the doorway with my mail in her hand. "Didn't know you were stopping by." Jasmine didn't look at her. "I came to bring Mom dinner," she said, "but it looks like somebody forgot to buy her food first." Amber laughed softly. "She's okay. She forgets to write real shopping lists. I grab things when I can. Money is tight. I'm keeping us afloat." "With $5,700 a month?" Jasmine finally turned, eyes hard. "Show me where it's going." Amber leaned against the doorframe. "I work in finance," she said. "Your brother and I agreed I would manage everything. Bills, insurance, taxes, groceries. If we let your mother touch that account, she'd donate half to church and waste the rest. This way it's handled responsibly." Responsibly. As if the woman who raised them suddenly couldn't be trusted with a debit card? Jasmine's face went blank. She set her keys on the table, reached up, and slid her small gold hoops from her ears, tucking them into her pocket. Then she unlocked her phone and tapped the screen. A quiet beep sounded. "This conversation is being recorded," she said. "Good," Jasmine went on. "Now explain why my mother's refrigerator is empty, and she's wearing 2 sweaters in her own kitchen when she has more money coming in every month than I do working 2 jobs." Amber's gaze flicked to me, then back to Jasmine. "Your mother is confused," she said. "She asked us to handle things. She agreed." Maybe I had agreed to let them help. I had never agreed to go hungry. Sitting there in that too bright kitchen, my stomach growling, while my daughter stood between me and the woman holding all my money, the truth finally settled in my bones. This wasn't a little mix-up with bills. It was planned. It was control. It was betrayal by my own family. And in that moment, without raising her voice, my Jasmine quietly declared war. When Jasmine declared war that night, I didn't know just how far she would go. But the hook settled deep the moment she said, "Mom, get your coat." It was the same tone she used when she was 12 and caught our neighbor's boy stealing her little brother's bike. Calm, cold, dangerous. She turned to Amber. "Move." Amber didn't. She folded her arms instead, giving Jasmine a slow, bitter smile. "She's not going anywhere. Marcus and I have an arrangement with her. Everything is under control." "Under control?" Jasmine repeated. "My mother is eating toast for dinner and wearing 2 sweaters indoors. Show me the control." Amber pushed off the doorframe. "You don't get it, Jasmine. Your mother is forgetful. She misplaces bills. She panics over bank statements. She asked us to help manage her money, and we've been doing our best. Jasmine picked up the envelope Amber had brought in. Interesting, she murmured, flipping through it. These are Mom's medical bills, unopened, dated 3 months ago. Amber tried to snatch them away. Jasmine raised the envelope just out of reach, staring at her like she was studying a wild animal. "Mom," she said, without looking at me, "put your coat on." I hesitated. My hands felt like they didn't belong to me. This was my house, my son's wife, my life. Somehow it had shrunk so small, I didn't even recognize the walls around me anymore. "Mom," Jasmine's voice softened. "Come on, please." I slipped into my puffy winter coat, the one I usually used as a blanket. Amber stepped forward. "You're not taking her. She lives here. She's our responsibility. And her money—" Jasmine cut her off. "Not anymore." She grabbed her phone, hit a button, and held the screen up. "Marcus needs to answer my call right now." She dialed. He picked up on the second ring. "Jazz, what's going on?" "Why is Mom starving?" Jasmine said, her voice level. "And why is your wife acting like she owns her pension?" A long, hollow silence followed. Then Marcus sighed. "Jazz, don't start. Amber's been handling things. You know Mom gets overwhelmed. It's better this way." "Better for who?" I thought, but didn't say. "Come home," Jasmine said. "Right now." Amber snatched the phone from her hands and ended the call. "Enough," she snapped. "Marcus and I already have legal control. If you take her from this house, that's kidnapping." Jasmine laughed, not loudly, not dramatically, just one sharp, humorless breath. "Legal control?" she echoed. "Show me the documents." Amber blinked. "The paperwork," Jasmine said. "The power of attorney documents, the caregiving agreement, the financial authorization. Show me." "I don't have to show you anything," Amber said, but her voice cracked at the edges, just a little. Jasmine's eyes narrowed. "So you don't have them?" Amber opened her mouth, ready to fight, but Jasmine had already turned away. She took me gently by the elbow, her touch warm despite my shaking. "We're leaving," she said. Amber blocked the archway. "You can't take her." Jasmine stepped forward until her face was inches from Amber's. Her earrings were gone, her jaw set like stone. "Move," she said. Amber didn't, not at first, but then she looked at Jasmine, really looked, and something about my daughter's stillness made her step sideways without another word. We walked down the front steps into the cold night. I didn't feel the wind. I didn't feel anything except fear and shame and a strange, unfamiliar relief. "Jazz," I whispered as she opened the passenger door for me, What are we doing?" She tucked a blanket around my legs after I sat down. Her hands shook a little. "We're saving you, Mom," she said quietly. "And tomorrow, we're proving exactly what Amber has been doing to you." She closed the door. Her face in the reflection of the car window looked older, harder, like a woman who had seen betrayal before and wasn't afraid to fight it head on. As she got into the driver's seat, she reached for my hand and squeezed it once. "Everything changes tomorrow," she said. "I promise." And for the first time in months, I believed something could. Sometimes the biggest betrayals don't explode. They whisper, they creep, they hide in the small things. A missing grocery bag, a bill that never got paid, a bank balance that didn't update yet. I didn't see it until Jasmine dragged me out of that house and into the bright, humming hallway of the emergency room. That was her plan. Not a confrontation, not a fight. Documentation. Proof. "Jazz, I don't need a hospital," I said as she helped me out of the car. "I'm just tired." She opened the door for me. "Mom, when was the last time you had a full meal? Not toast, not pickles, not crackers. A meal." I searched my memory. It felt like trying to find the end of a frayed piece of string. I don't know." She didn't say anything. She just walked me inside. The ER was crowded, people coughing, nurses hurrying, the sharp smell of disinfectant floating in the air. Jasmine checked me in, answering questions before I could even form the words. "Symptoms?" the nurse asked. "Dizziness, weakness, weight loss," Jasmine said. Weight loss? Had I really lost weight? But when they took me back and had me step on the scale, I saw it. 102 pounds. I used to be 138 without even trying. Jasmine stared at the number, her lips pressed into a thin line. A doctor barely older than my grandson looked over the chart. "Ma'am, how long have you been eating less?" "I eat," I insisted softly, "just not big meals." Jasmine didn't let it slide. She pulled out her phone and showed him a picture. "Christmas," she said. Me, 6 months earlier. Healthy cheeks, bright eyes, laughter trapped in a single photograph. The doctor raised his eyebrows. "You've lost over 30 pounds. He ordered blood work, hydration therapy, and nutritional panels. While we waited, a woman in a gray cardigan stepped in. She smiled gently. "I'm Dana, one of the hospital's social workers. Your daughter tells me you might be having some trouble at home." She pulled up a chair beside me and made sure my blanket was tucked around my shoulders. That simple gesture made my throat tighten. "Would you feel comfortable talking to me?" she asked. I looked at Jasmine. She nodded. And suddenly, everything came spilling out. The empty fridge, the cold house, the unopened medical bills, the excuses Amber gave when I asked about money, the fear of sounding ungrateful, the shame that kept me silent. Dana didn't interrupt. She didn't judge. She simply listened, typing quietly on her tablet. Then the doctor returned with the test results. "Mrs. Collins," he said gently, "you're severely malnourished. Your vitamin levels are dangerously low. Your body is in starvation mode." Starvation. The word hit me like a slap. Jasmine didn't cry. She didn't shout. She took pictures of the medical chart, the lab results, the nutrition assessment. Evidence. "You need to be admitted," the doctor said. "No," Jasmine answered. "She's coming home with me." He hesitated. "She really should stay." "We'll take the risk," she said calmly, "but we need printed copies of everything. All charts, all test results, all notes." Dana exchanged a glance with the doctor. "We can do that," she said, "and I'll be filing a mandatory report with Adult Protective Services. What you described is financial exploitation and neglect. It's considered elder abuse." Elder abuse. The words sat between us like something radioactive. I never imagined those words could apply to me. By the time we left the hospital, Jasmine had a thick folder of documentation clutched to her chest. She walked like a woman carrying dynamite. But she wasn't done. Instead of going home, she drove across town to a small brick bank near the university. Inside, she guided me to a desk where a banker named Mr. Ellsworth greeted us. Jasmine opened the folder and laid the documents neatly on the table. "We need a new checking account," she said, "in her name only. No joint access, no automatic transfers, no family linked to it." The banker nodded, glancing at the medical paperwork. His expression softened. "Of course, we'll take care of it." And just like that, for the first time in nearly a year, my money became mine again. As I signed the paperwork, my hands shook so badly, Jasmine had to hold the clipboard steady. Not from weakness this time. Relief. A strange, fragile, terrifying relief. That night, Jasmine sat across from me at her kitchen table while I ate the first real dinner I'd had in months. Chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, warm, nourishing, safe. And then she opened her laptop. "Mom," she said quietly, "there's something you need to see." She turned the screen toward me. It was my home computer's search history, but not my searches. How long does an elderly parent live after weight loss? Signs of declining health in seniors. Average inheritance waiting period. How to get full control of a parent's finances. Months of searches. Years. Amber had been planning this. Calculating, studying me like a project. My hands froze around the fork. Jasmine took my hand. "Mom, everything changes now." And this time, I felt the truth of it. The next morning, Jasmine had already showered, dressed, and packed her laptop bag before I even finished my oatmeal. She moved with a kind of focused anger I had only seen once before, back when her father died and she had to handle every detail alone because Marcus couldn't deal with hospitals. She sat across from me, tapping her fingers lightly on the table. "Mom," she said, "we have an appointment at 10:30 with an elder law attorney. His name is Samuel Reyes. He specializes in cases like yours." Cases like mine. That phrase didn't feel real. It felt like a different woman's life. But when Jasmine reached over and squeezed my hand, something inside me settled. "Okay," I whispered. The law office was downtown, inside a renovated old building with red brick walls and long windows. But the inside was all polished floors, soft lighting, and framed degrees. Everything smelt faintly of lemon polish. Mr. Reyes greeted us himself. He was in his early 50s, hair peppered with gray, suit neat but not flashy. His eyes went straight to me. Not Jasmine, not the folder, me. "Mrs. Collins," he said gently, shaking my hand, "your daughter told me a little. Before we begin, I want you to know you're safe here." The words cracked something open in my chest. I tried to hide it, but I think he saw. We followed him into a conference room. Jasmine placed the thick hospital folder on the table. Mr. Reyes opened it, scanning the documents with slow, deliberate care. Blood test results, weight logs, malnutrition assessment, notes from the social worker. His jaw tightened. "Mrs. Collins, what has been done to you is serious, very serious." My cheeks burned. I didn't want to cause trouble. He looked at me over his glasses. "You didn't cause trouble. Someone exploited your trust." He tapped a sheet with his pen. "This is documented physical harm. Combined with financial control, isolation, and deprivation of food, this is criminal behavior." Criminal. That word settled in the room like dust. Then he leaned forward. "I need to ask you something important. Is your mind clear? Are you aware of what's happening around you? Do you feel capable of making your own decisions?" "Yes," I said quickly. "My mind is fine." He nodded. "I believe you, but we need proof before your daughter-in-law tries to claim otherwise. I'd like to schedule a cognitive evaluation. If you pass, and I think you will, we'll have documented evidence that you were never incompetent." Never incompetent. Funny how just hearing someone say it made me feel taller. "Let's do it," I said. The test took 2 hours. Memory sequences, problem solving, matching symbols, drawing shapes, recalling lists of words. By the end, my head ached and my palms were damp. But Mr. Reyes returned with the results and smiled. "Mrs. Collins, you performed above average for your age. There is absolutely no indication of cognitive decline." Relief washed over me so fast I felt dizzy again. Jasmine exhaled sharply, like she'd been holding her breath the whole time. Then came the hard part. Jasmine pulled out bank statements she had printed from my online account months ago, back when I still had the password. Transactions, withdrawals, luxury purchases, trips, restaurant bills. Mr. Reyes flipped slowly through the pages. By the third sheet, his expression turned grim. "This is exploitation," he said. "And based on the totals I'm seeing, I estimate your daughter-in-law has taken close to $140,000 over the past 18 months. I felt sick, physically sick. "That can't be right," I whispered. "That money was supposed to take care of you," Jasmine said softly. "I know." Mr. Reyes closed the folder. "We need to bring in a forensic accountant to calculate the full amount. Once we have that, we file for immediate financial protection orders and begin legal action. But before we do any of that, Mrs. Collins, we need to move your assets out of their reach." "My assets?" "Yes," he said. "Your home, your investments, any savings accounts they may have accessed. We'll place everything into an irrevocable trust with Jasmine as the trustee." I blinked. "That sounds permanent." "It is," he said, "and necessary." He explained it slowly. Once the trust was established, Amber and Marcus would have no claim to anything, no way to touch my home, no way to freeze my accounts, no way to keep controlling my money. I nodded. My throat felt tight, but something inside me straightened like a spine finding alignment. "Do it," I whispered. Jasmine's hand found mine. "Mom, you're doing the right thing." Mr. Reyes drafted the papers. Page after page slid across the table. Jasmine steadied my trembling hand while I signed. Trust documents, beneficiary updates, property transfer, financial protections. Every signature felt like reclaiming a piece of myself that I hadn't even realized I lost. When it was done, Mr. Reyes leaned back. "Mrs. Collins, your daughter-in-law no longer has access to anything that belongs to you, and she never will again." I exhaled for what felt like the first time in a year. On our way out, Jasmine wrapped her arm around my shoulders. "You're safe now," she murmured. I believed her. But safety was just the beginning. The storm was still coming. The real storm didn't begin with shouting or threats. It started with a knock on Jasmine's front door. Soft, quick, desperate. The kind of knock someone uses when they're scared of who might answer. But before that moment came, Jasmine spent days gathering pieces of a puzzle I didn't even know existed. That week felt like stepping into someone else's life, a stronger woman's life. Jasmine took charge while I tried to relearn what safety even felt like. Every morning she made me eat a real breakfast. Every afternoon she made me rest. Every evening she pulled out her laptop and quietly, methodically built a case like she'd been born for it. But it was what she did on Thursday that changed everything. "Mom," she said as she grabbed her keys, "come with me. There are people who noticed things, people who can help." I didn't understand what she meant until we pulled up in front of our old neighborhood, the one I used to walk through every morning before my knees started acting up. First stop was the mailman. Jerry had been delivering mail on that street for 15 years. He broke into a sad smile when he saw me. "Mrs. Collins," he said, "been a while. How are you feeling?" Jasmine stepped forward. "Jerry, tell her what you told me on the phone." He shifted, uncomfortable. I didn't want to intrude, but I noticed things. "Like what?" I asked. He looked straight at me, and something inside me braced. "For months," he said, "I saw you taking bottles out of the recycling bins on collection days. I figured maybe money was tight, but you always looked hungry, pale. I asked if everything was okay once, and you told me not to worry." I looked down at my shoes. I remembered those mornings, my stomach twisting with hunger, counting out 5-cent bottles like they were blessings. Jerry handed Jasmine a written statement, signed, dated. "Wish I'd spoken up sooner," he said softly. But Jasmine shook her head. "No, this helps, more than you know." Next up, the pharmacy. Lisa, the brunette tech who had known me for years, invited us into her tiny office. "I noticed when you stopped filling your blood pressure prescription," she said. "You never miss that one. After 3 months, I called the house number. Your daughter-in-law answered and said you didn't need the medication anymore." My chest tightened. She said, "What?" "That you were managing fine without it," Lisa said, air quoting the words. "But I saw your blood pressure numbers when you used the machine here. They weren't fine. I kept copies." She handed Jasmine a stock of printouts. More evidence, more truth, more betrayal I had been living blind to. The last stop was the hardest. Mrs. Patterson, the woman next door who never smiled much and always kept to herself. She opened her door, looked at me for 2 seconds, and immediately ushered us inside. "I've been praying someone would come talk to me," she said. I blinked. "You noticed something?" She nodded. "Your lights were off most nights, even in the cold. I saw you bringing in grocery bags that looked nearly empty. And that day last fall." She hesitated. Jasmine leaned forward. "What happened that day?" "You fainted on your porch," Mrs. Patterson whispered. "I was going to call 911, but your daughter-in-law came running out of the house. She told me you were fine. She told me to stay out of it." My breath stalled in my chest. I remembered that day, a sudden wave of dizziness, waking up in bed hours later with Amber saying I just needed rest. Mrs. Patterson placed a trembling hand on mine. I didn't know what to do. I tried to check in after, but she always answered the door and said you were napping or busy. She handed Jasmine another statement, another signature, another account. By the time we drove out, Jasmine had a folder so full it barely closed. Witnesses, records, proof of everything I had survived quietly. And then, Monday afternoon came. The knock sounded while I was dozing on the couch, wrapped in a real blanket in a warm living room. Jasmine checked the camera feed on her phone and sighed. They're here. Marcus. And Amber. Jasmine opened the door just enough to block the entrance, her spine straight, her face calm. "We need to see Mom," Marcus said. But Amber pushed forward, frantic. "Where is she? And why didn't her pension deposit hit our account? What did you do?" Jasmine didn't flinch. "Mom's pension goes to her now, not you." "You can't do that," Amber snapped. "I'm managing her finances." Jasmine tilted her head. "Show me the legal documents." Amber froze. Marcus looked confused. Amber said, "She lied," Jasmine said simply. Amber turned red. "You don't understand. We took care of her. You starved her," Jasmine said quietly. "You froze her. You let her faint on the porch, and we have every bit of evidence to prove it." She held up her phone, the recording light blinking. Amber stepped back like Jasmine had struck her. "This isn't over," she hissed. Jasmine smiled. "Oh, Amber, it's already over. You just don't know it yet." And right then, in that doorway, I realized something that made my hands go cold. Amber wasn't just afraid of losing my money. She was afraid of what Jasmine now held in that folder. Evidence, witnesses, proof, and soon, the law. You would think the worst part of betrayal is the moment it happens, but it isn't. The worst part is realizing how long it was happening before you ever opened your eyes. And nothing opened mine wider than what came next. After Marcus and Amber stormed off that Monday, Jasmine didn't slam the door. She didn't celebrate. She just locked it, slid the chain across, and stood there breathing quietly like a woman bracing for an earthquake. "Mom," she said finally, "we have more work to do." And we did. Tuesday morning, Jasmine woke me early. "We're going back downtown," she said, handing me a warm cup of tea. "Mr. Reyes has news." My heart thudded. "Bad?" "Not for us," she replied. The law office felt different this time, brighter, sharper, like something important was waiting for us inside. Mr. Reyes greeted us with a tight nod and guided us back into the conference room. He had a stack of printed papers beside him. "Mrs. Collins," he began carefully, "I did a routine check of public records after our meeting last week, and I found something disturbing." He slid a few sheets toward me. "A life insurance policy, taken out 3 years ago, on me, worth $350,000. Beneficiary, Amber Harding. My signature was on the bottom. Except it wasn't. My hand clamped over my mouth. I felt my breath stop. "I never signed this," I whispered. "I know," Mr. Reyes said. "This is forgery. And given everything we've uncovered, your weight loss, the malnutrition, the financial control, this adds a very dangerous element to the case." Jasmine leaned forward. "Dangerous how?" "Intent," he said. "This document shows she was preparing to profit from your death. Combined with her online search history," he tapped another stack of papers. "How long can an elderly parent live after losing weight? Signs a senior is declining. Life expectancy calculator. How to accelerate inheritance distribution." My stomach twisted so hard I felt like I might faint. I had lived under the same roof with a woman who was researching my death like it was homework. Jasmine's voice broke the silence. "What's our next step?" "We take this to the district attorney," Mr. Reyes said, "but first we build the full financial timeline." And that's when Jennifer arrived. Jennifer Lee, the forensic accountant, a small woman with sharp eyes and a laptop bag that looked heavier than she was. She set up her computer, pulled out printed spreadsheets, and got to work like she had been waiting for this moment her whole life. Mrs. Collins, she said, I've gone through every transaction Amber made using your accounts, every withdrawal, every transfer, every bill she claimed she was paying. She clicked the mouse, and the numbers appeared. $140 at a salon, $960 in boutique clothing, $4,300 withdrawn in cash over 2 months, $2,800 for a weekend trip to Dallas, $600 at a steakhouse, $1,900 on online purchases, $12,000 home repairs that never happened. Page after page, month after month. Jasmine sat still, jaw tight, absorbing every word. Jennifer continued, based on 16 months of activity, she has taken a total of $168,742 directly from your pension and rental income. I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides and left nothing but fear and disbelief. This isn't just theft, Mr. Reyes added. This is exploitation, financial abuse, neglect, forgery, fraud. And given the severity of your medical condition, attempted harm cannot be ruled out. My hands shook on the table. Jasmine placed her palm over mine. I need to breathe, I whispered. We stepped outside into the cool midday air. Jasmine kept her arm around me while I steadied myself on the railing. I don't understand, I said softly. I fed that girl, bought her Christmas gifts, welcomed her into our family. How could anyone? Jasmine didn't answer right away. She took a slow breath. Some betrayal isn't about family, she said. It's about greed. And Amber saw your kindness as weakness. But that ends now. She guided me back inside, where Mr. Reyes placed the final document on the table. Your new will, he said. It reflects your wishes and protects your estate from further manipulation. I read it slowly. Jasmine, 100% trustee and sole beneficiary of the trust. Marcus, $1. Amber, nothing. Are you certain? Mr. Reyes asked gently. I pictured the empty fridge, the cold rooms, the toasted dinners, the dizziness, the forged signature. The search history about my death. My own son watching and doing nothing. Yes, I said. I'm sure. I signed. Page after page, line after line. By the time I set the pen down, my hand ached. But something in my chest, something buried, finally loosened. We walked out of that office with a folder full of evidence and protections. Jasmine tucked it under her arm like it was a shield. And then, as we got in the car, her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. We need to talk. Now. Amber is freaking out. She got some kind of legal letter. What did you do? Jasmine showed me the screen, then looked at me with a calm I didn't yet understand. Mom, she said, everything we've done up to now was preparation. She put the car in drive. The real battle starts today. People think the breaking point comes with yelling or slamming doors, but in my life, the breaking point arrived quietly, through a legal envelope left on my son's porch at 9:12 in the morning. By noon that same day, the phone started ringing like someone was trying to call the house down. Jasmine didn't answer, not once. She let every call go to voicemail while she stirred a pot of soup on the stove, and I folded laundry slowly, my hands trembling, even though the house was warm. Mom, she said calmly, ladling broth into a bowl, today they learn we're not backing down. Before I could ask what she meant, a hard knock rattled the door. 3 knocks. A pause. 3 more. Marcus. Jasmine wiped her hands, checked the camera, and opened the door only halfway. Marcus stood there looking like he hadn't slept, hair messy, eyes wide, breathing rushed. Amber was beside him, jaw clenched, face streaked with dried tears. We need to talk to Mom, Marcus said, trying to sound firm, but his voice cracked at the end. Jasmine didn't move. And discuss what? Amber shoved forward. The hell is all this? A lawsuit? A demand for repayment? A restraining order notice? Adult protective services? For what? For helping her? For taking care of her? Jasmine blinked slowly. You starved her. Amber's face twisted. She's lying to you. She forgets things. Half the time she doesn't know what she's talking about. Jasmine's voice turned to ice. She passed a cognitive evaluation with above-average scores. You want to try again? Marcus swallowed hard. Jazz, this is too far. Lawyers? Court filings? You're overreacting. Mom wasn't that bad. Before he finished, Jasmine held up her phone. A picture filled the screen. Me, in the ER, wrapped in a paper gown. Bones showing through my shoulders, blood pressure cuff squeezing my thin arm. The weight number glowing in red, 102 pounds. Marcus's face drained of color. Amber's mouth fell open. Jasmine spoke quietly, but her voice hit harder than shouting. She weighed 102 pounds. Marcus stared at the photo like he didn't know the woman in it. Maybe he didn't. He never bothered to look at me long enough to see what was happening. Amber tried again. This is being blown way out of. But Jasmine opened her folder and pulled out another paper. The freeze frame of Amber's search history. How long until an elderly parent dies after rapid weight loss? Life expectancy calculator. How much does a senior's death payout delay inheritance? Amber's face turned gray. Marcus took a step away from her without even realizing he had. Jasmine laid down the next sheet. The life insurance policy. The forged signature. Amber's name as the beneficiary. $350,000. Marcus read it again, then whispered, Amber, what is this? Amber reached for him. Baby, listen. He jerked his arm away, eyes wide with horror. You forged my mother's name? I did it for us, she snapped, for our future. She's old, Marcus. That money was eventually... Jasmine cut in. Say it. Amber's jaw clenched. But she didn't say it. She didn't have to. We all heard the words she didn't speak. Marcus backed away another step. Then another. He looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in a long time. Mom, he whispered, voice shaking. Why didn't you tell me it was this bad? I swallowed, my voice trembling. Because I thought you'd see it, without me having to beg. Marcus flinched like I'd slapped him. Amber snapped out of her shock and pointed a finger at Jasmine. You can't record this. You can't threaten us with... Jasmine lifted her phone. The red recording light blinked steadily. Threat? Jasmine said. This isn't a threat. This is documentation. And if either of you come within 30 feet of my mother again, this recording goes straight to the detective handling the case. Amber's eyes widened. Detective? Marcus groaned, pressing his forehead into his palm. Oh my God. Jasmine stepped forward for the first time, voice steady, low, unshakably calm. You stole from her. You starved her. You controlled her money, her house, her life. And you thought she'd die quietly in that cold kitchen. Amber sputtered. She's twisting everything. This is all... No, Jasmine said. This is over. She pointed toward the driveway. Leave. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, then turned slowly toward the car. Amber followed, her breaths sharp and panicked. Before they reached the steps, Jasmine added, Oh, and Marcus? He turned. Check your email. Mr. Reyes sent you the updated will. When he read it, the $1 inheritance, he stopped breathing for a moment. His eyes lifted to mine. Broken. Ashamed. Too late. Jasmine gently closed the door and locked it. I sat down slowly on the couch, my hands trembling. Jazz, what happens now? She sat beside me and took my hand. Now, she said softly, now we finish this. And in that moment, I realized my daughter wasn't just protecting me. She was fighting for every version of me. The woman I used to be, the woman I almost became, and the woman still learning she deserved more than fear and silence. You'd imagine the final battle would feel loud, like shouting, like crashing, like something breaking. But the truth is, some endings arrive quietly, steady, inevitable. And when they do, you feel them settle into your bones with a kind of calm you didn't know you were capable of. After Marcus and Amber walked away from Jasmine's front porch that day, everything moved faster than I expected. My daughter and Mr. Reyes were prepared. They had built a case with layers: documents, medical evidence, bank records, witness statements, the forged insurance policy, screenshots of search history, every ugly truth laid out in black and white. And then came the day of the hearing. It was a cold Friday morning. A thin fog rested over downtown, and people hurried along the sidewalks with paper cups of coffee, unaware that my entire life was sitting in the balance inside a beige courtroom on the third floor. Jasmine held my arm as we walked in. The courtroom was smaller than I imagined. Wooden benches, fluorescent lighting, a judge's bench that looked too big for the room. Amber sat at the defendant's table with her lawyer, wearing a stiff blazer and a face full of forced calm, but I could see her hands shaking. Marcus sat behind her, not beside her. He never turned around to look at me. The judge, a calm woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes, began the proceedings. First came the medical proof: my weight, the malnutrition diagnosis, the vitamin deficiencies. The judge's expression hardened. Next came the bank statements, the luxury purchases, the withdrawals, the lies written in numbers. Then the life insurance policy. When the judge saw the forged signature, she removed her glasses and stared at Amber for a long, heavy moment. The prosecutor stepped forward and presented the final piece of evidence: the spreadsheet Amber created, the one calculating how much money she'd get depending on how long I lived. A highlighted row: age 72, my current age. Amber's lawyer whispered urgently to her, but she stared forward, pale as paper. Finally, the judge spoke. "Mrs. Harding," she said, addressing Amber with a voice that felt carved from stone, "your actions show intentional exploitation, fraud, and manipulation. You deprived this woman of food. You allowed her to suffer malnutrition. You forged her signature on a life insurance policy. You calculated the financial benefit of her death. This is not caregiving. This is criminal." Amber burst into tears. Marcus hung his head. And I just sat there, hands folded, breathing slow. The judge continued, "For the charges of financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, fraud, forgery, and intentional neglect, this court sentences you to 3 years in state custody with mandated restitution totaling $200,000 payable to Mrs. Collins' trust." 3 years. $200,000. Her debt, public, permanent, undeniable. Amber sobs into her hands. Marcus didn't touch her. He didn't speak. He just sat with his regrets, as silent as he had been while I faded in that cold kitchen. When it was over, Jasmine and I walked out into the crisp afternoon. The sun felt warm on my face, warm in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. That night, as we sat at Jasmine's dining table eating chicken, vegetables, and cornbread, real food, warm food, I realized something. The greatest revenge was not Amber going to prison. It was not the restitution. It was not the new trust or the updated will. It was survival, living, healing, reclaiming every piece of myself that betrayal tried to destroy. Months passed. I gained weight, I laughed again, my cheeks filled out, my voice grew stronger. I went to senior exercise classes, I volunteered twice a week. Sometimes I caught myself humming in the kitchen for no reason at all. And then one afternoon, I received a letter, handwritten, trembling, from my son. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted you to know I left her. I'm getting help. I hope one day you'll talk to me again." I folded the letter and placed it in my dresser drawer. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. Betrayal doesn't just disappear. Some wounds become part of you. But I also knew this. I was no longer the woman starving in silence. I was no longer the woman living in the dark. I was no longer under anyone's control. I had survived betrayal that could have killed me, and I wasn't done living yet. So now I share my story, not for pity, but for warning. Because sometimes the danger doesn't come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the people sitting at your own table. Thank you for listening to my story on Mabel Stories. If you felt something while listening, anger, hope, sadness, strength, tell me in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps more people find stories that matter. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and take care of your loved ones.